Alright, it's a nice sunny day out there, about 78 degrees, perfect weather for getting my next set of solar panels installed, so let's go get started. Alright, so the next panels are going to be almost an exact position as the other ones, with the exception of right here where we've got the pipe coming up. It's going to sit kind of right in front of the roof vent. They're still going to lean up the same way and everything, just a little bit deeper in. Alright, well, fast forward to the next day. Had some other stuff to take care of, and so tonight I am now going to be taking this charge controller, which I've already partially taken apart, and I'm going to be adding it basically in tandem with the other charge controller that's already there. So I'm going to make it really easy, and I'm going to take the battery terminals on the back here and wire them directly to the battery terminals on the back of the other charge controller. One really convenient thing to doing it that way is that it's a lot less wiring since they're right next to each other. What I'm going to be working on now is on the side of the charge controller. I'm going to be adding in a couple brackets to be able to hold this down on top of the filing cabinet right next to the other charge controller. So you can see this one already has the bracket there holding it in place. So now we just got to do this one. Alright, so one of the tricky parts to this part of the process is taking this cover off so that you're not getting into the circuit board and you're not getting into this positive lead on these either. It's a little bit tricky in that regard because the bottom screw goes down a little bit low. So I'm basically just going to take this, set it on about where I want it, rotate it up, And let's see if I can get this to screw in without any issues. Okay, so this right here illustrates a really good point of why I'm also taking this cover off. Because, take this down, those shavings fell right down, but there could be some on the inside as well. So just give it a nice little blow. Make sure all those shavings are out of there. And now, I'm actually going to switch the self-tap. Switch that out. Put this guy in. Perfect. Just like that. Yeah, a little bit tighter. There we go. Good. There we go. So now I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Okay, so there we go. That's all processed down there. This, swing right back on there. Charge controller is in place next to it. What I ended up having to do, if you can see it okay here, this bracket is going to have to sit like this. Whoopsie. Sit like that, because it's not going to be able to point out the other direction because of this filing cabinet here. I put the hole a little bit higher so I can take the screwdriver from this side in, and let's go ahead and get that mounted. Alright, so the first bracket is mounted down right here, and I was getting a little bit ahead of myself in mounting this because I've got the wires from the solar panels to bring down to the charge controller. So they are behind these license plates here. I gotta take all those off and bring them down here. Nothing pretty, because that's just going to be back behind here anyway. There we go. Put that on. Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to quite connect these yet. And that's just because if there is a little bit of current in those solar panels, I don't want it to be a problem as I'm feeding it down. Okay. So now, I'm going to hook these two together. Just go ahead and leave that back there. And put the backsplash back into place. Why I was going to run one charge controller to the other charge controller, and that's because in my setup I run through a modified multimeter which tells me exactly how many amps are coming through my solar panels to the battery bank, or basically how much draw is coming from those solar panels. Doesn't necessarily mean that that's how much is pushing through for voltage. I can see that on the front for what the current voltage is. If I have a load on the system, it'll tell me how much I'm pulling through. So the multimeter is one of these Harbor Freight little cheap guys like that right there. You can kind of see the wires coming out of the front for how I've modified these things to be able to tell me amperage. And this one's trailer wide, up higher up above is for the solar panels. those will take 10 amps, and each one of these charge controllers will put out up to 4 amps, so 8 amps. I've taken the wire that comes with them. They normally have a clamp like this to clamp onto a battery. I've modified it to go right onto the back of this one. Then I'll take the other side here and put it onto the back of the other charge controller. So that way I don't have to modify any of my other wiring to be able to see how much amperage the next set of solar panels will be bringing into my system. So now I've got to take this to the other charge controller. Alright, that's a wrap for the solar panel install process, and it was a bit modified from what you would normally see on these solar panel setups, where I put the bolt right through the framing of it, sunk it down right to the roof of the trailer through the subframing that's in here. So that works out great up there. It's not budging anywhere. The lock nuts on it help with that safety for it. So it's a really not that hard of a project to complete. A little bit different than most solar setups where I'm bolting it down like that. The charge controller side of things is very simplified, wiring one charge controller to the back of the other one. And in this video I didn't go over anything with hooking up to the battery side of things, but if you're going to do this project, it is pretty straightforward. Just make sure you have your fuse block that you connect everything to, so that if something does go awry, then you can you just have a fuse that blows instead of catching anything on fire. So yeah, just make sure everything's fused, and I say tackle this project. It's not that bad at all, and go for it. So don't forget to subscribe, like the video, leave a comment with any questions, and we'll catch you guys next time. See ya.